So welcome, Enrique, and welcome, Shu-wing. Hi. So it's really nice for this occasion that West Kowloon helps us to invite Enrique and also the make this collaboration between you and also Enrique. So what is the questions in your mind or any anticipation or expectation before this collaboration begins?
Well, I think before this meeting, I have researched a lot on his work, and I'm very curious to find out what the workshop will look like. And then after these few days, I think I am inspired, moved, and changed in a certain way that is very important to me. In the sense that my day of theater making is also based primarily on pre-verbal expressions. That means before the language is invented, how did human beings communicate and express themselves? And I believe that pre-verbal expressions have lots to do with the senses as well. And so these things in common have opened up another horizon for my future practice, I think. And I think also in general, as a whole, for the Hong Kong theater practitioners and community, we should spend more time in research, in-depth research, and also spend more time on really finding out what we are really interested in and why we're interested in such things. Because if you do not answer these two questions genuinely, it is very difficult to develop a specific, powerful and strong vision and methodology of theater making, as the case of Enrique. So I think for me, before and after this meeting encounter, these are the most important things that I've learned.
Now, a few minutes before we began this conversation on camera, off camera, we were talking about the relationship between the concept of what is an artistic experience and what is a healing experience. How do you heal somebody from a disease, from an illness? And what does it have to do with the arts? We were saying before that perhaps a therapeutical experience could be an artistic moment. And also, in the other direction, an artistic moment could be therapeutical. And how this whole thing could become a problem of semantics.
I'm partly being attracted by your saying that you welcome medical practitioner and therapists and psychologists to the workshop, and I think this is really important for modern therapists and practitioners that we're not as you always mention in the workshop, that is not a subject to object relationship, which is in fact should be a subject to subject relationship, and that helps me to answer the question that medicine and arts. So it's nothing really different.
In many cultures, then again in the Amazonic Colombian culture and the Andean cultures, they have what they call the ayahuasca celebrations. Ayahuasca, yaje. And they do it in different ways. For instance, the local curaca, doctor, asks the person who has an illness to go into the forest and to look for a tree and to stay under the tree all night, listening to the tree. And the following morning, the person who was sick or had difficulties, would have heard what the tree has to say, and he'll be cured because he would have the advice of the tree. Some people could say, "Oh, that's a projection. That's a psychological projection." He was maybe so cold and so afraid in the middle of the forest. Maybe he thought he projected into the tree. I really feel the tree had something to say. And the word therapy is a word that sometimes, in some cases, it could sound like, okay, you're the patient and I'm the doctor, so keep quiet. Listen to me, because I'm the master of your body. You don't know anything. You don't know anything about your body. I do, so I have the knowledge. I believe that that ideally, as it is in your case, a good doctor should be, first of all, a good poet. And like in the old times.
You notice that in Hong Kong, time is really quick and everyone moves very fast. And also, Shu-wing's also mentioned about, so it's really important that, you find that it's really important to take time and do research and for Hong Kong theatre practitioner. So as for this time matter, so I think for me it's also very impressive, because it really takes time to explore all kinds of senses and to gradually get into that context and get in touch with that poetics of the space. So I think that time is really an important issue. Well, my question will be, so for this time matter, so do you think that, is there any inspiration on, while during this work in progress or the collaboration in this workshop, that you have any advice or any new inspiration for Hong Kong practitioner more on this time issue, I'd say?
If you ask me how to tackle the issue of time constraint in Hong Kong, it's not just a person's understanding. It should be a collective effort. Because if it is a collective effort, then it will change something. Because the notion of time constraint is planted in our mind as a DNA, telling us that time represents something useful, something practical, or to many people, time stands for money. And they never treat time as time. They give a value, a functional value to time, because they think that they are limited by time. In the Eastern philosophy, including Hindu or yoga, or Tao, Buddhism, time is something that we have to transcend, because we all say that we are limited by time, space, and causation. And if we can transcend time, space, and causation, then we'll be free. In Sanskrit, says Satchitananda. That means you yourself equal absolute existence, knowledge, and bliss. And you are what you are. And you have to transcend that. Otherwise, you will be in this circle or samskara. That means you cannot escape life and death. I mean, that is another issue. So for a Hong Kong theatre practitioner, regarding the limitation of time, we have to know that, we have to push and prove that we should not be limited by time as a functional symbol. We should treat time as time. And And it should be a collective effort. It's not just an individual thing. So, yeah, we have to really advocate for such a change, I think.
And also I noticed that in your suggested reading, or even during the workshop, you use a lot of poems or poetic element. So what's your view on poetics of poems in theatre?
In life, yes, by definition, a poem is a symbol. It's made of, has a symbolic language, and that's the whole point. The poem, the poetical experience, enables us to see more, to construct, or to create constructions, to listen and to see more. I don't know. I was thinking, why Ho Chi Minh? Ho Chi Minh, you say?
Yeah, Ho Chi Minh.
Or Mao Zedong, or why these great men were all poets also.
Yeah.
And in Colombia, in my country, there's a city called Medellin. Medellin is was one of the most violent cities in the world. The most crimes and homicides and massacres by square inch that in the world. But every month, on the first Sunday of each month, they make these huge encounters of poets. And the last time they had to do it in the football stadium, because there were so many thousands of people coming to listen to love poems. And it was huge stadium, I don't know, 30,000 persons or something incredible, a lot of thousands for people who just come to listen to their poets. And the more difficult the situation got there, the stronger the work of the poets. In London, during the Second World War, when the Germans were beginning to throw rockets on London, then the people from London became demoralized. They were so afraid, because before, with airplanes and with the bombs, they knew how to go into the undergrounds. But with the rockets, they didn't know. And people were losing their morale. They're demoralized. And the London Association of Poets and Writers came up with an idea. They created what they called listeners. And a listener was a person that who wanted to listen the next, and wanted the people to talk about what was happening. And pretty soon, people that were being listened to became listeners also. And so they would go up on the third floor where this grandmother was hiding in her kitchen to listen to her, and to listen to the fears. And anyway, this was the job of poets, to listen. And it is said that through the work of the listeners, London gained back its energy and its morale and its power. But first, they had to be listened to. I think the future of a city depends on the development of its poets. How far could China go? How far could Hong Kong go? Depends on to a total extent, to the significance of its poets.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, poets, according to myself, are not only confined to literary poets who write poems, but artists.
Artists, yeah.
Yeah, cultural workers. Yeah, and people of this category. And because why poets, artists are important for the evolution of a society, in terms of its cultural and spiritual development is because it moved the whole society to a higher mind, higher level of thinking. What do I mean by higher mind? Higher mind, that means in contrast to lower mind, which is animalistic, which take care of the basic needs of human beings, vital energy, sex, food, etc. But higher mind is about something more supreme, more poetic, more beautiful, non-materialistic. When people have the basic food, clothing, they look for higher level of existence. That is natural for every country, every civilization. So, returning to Enrique's observation, why do countries need poets? Because I would cite something from The Art of War by Xuanzi, the famous Chinese book on the art of war. The first chapter, he's talking about preparation for war. War is something very catastrophic, detrimental to every country, because it takes tremendous energy and food resources of a country if a country is going to go into war into another country. But if you go to a war, then you have to unite all your soldiers, all your armies, all your people with a single spirit that you have to win the war. If you can't unify all these differences, you would lose the war definitely. So that is the function of poets, to unify the mind and spirit of every citizen in that country towards a common cause. And sometimes the mind is so strong that it cannot be destroyed by weapons. You see, I mean, in Colombia it's the same, in China it's the same during the wartime, that people die for their country, die for the cause of self-defense, and it is very powerful. Every one who fell down to the ground would be followed by another one from behind, and it is the power of the people, and that could only be generated by poets or artists. It is addressing on spiritual level, not on materialistic level. Yeah.
For the same reason, Shu was saying what he was saying just before. The work of the actor, the artist, the poet goes in the same direction. We cannot. Our purpose in life is to expand the limits of imagination, to find always the new relationships between the visible and the invisible. Even if a dictatorship came and said poets cannot have to shut their mouths, well, it would come out of their ears, it would come out of their nose. You will come out anyway. It's the way we are all made.
Well, so thank you very much for Enrique for coming to Hong Kong, and thanks very much to Shu-wing for this very, I would say, very fruitful week for me as a practitioner, as a practitioner and also a participant in the workshop. So it's really a great pleasure. So about senses, about time, about poems, and about the preverbal expression. So these are all very essential that will bring us more inspiration and new insight into our future works and future practice. So thank you very much to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.